you know, she just doesn't like what she's doing. It's just regular nursing things, IVs and bandaging wounds and things like that. She just doesn't.
Let's go. So in the times, Bisman Sha'isen al Piyariya. In the times we said when they established Rosh Chodesh, according to the testimony of witnesses, they would also, this chapter 6 of Kiddush HaChodesh, they would also do mathematical calculations to know exactly where the moon would be, just like astronomers do. And the beginning of that was, they would know it exactly. And the general knowledge is called the Molad. Molad is what we announce on Shabbos, the Shabbos for Rosh Chodesh. So that's called the Molad. And this is what we do today. Okay. And the calculations that they made when we don't have the Beis Din, this is the Ibor, and these are them. Okay. So now we're going to get into the astronomy a little bit. Day and night are 24 hours, always. 12 hours is a day and 12 hours is night. An hour has 1,080 chalakim. Chalakim are like the seconds that the Rambam and Jewish law calculates. Why do they calculate that? Because this calculation has a half and a fourth. And you can divide in half, fourth, sixth, right? So as we're going to say soon, that basically the degrees of the sun and the moon, everything's divided into 60s. Everything's divided into 60s, minutes and seconds. And, okay, so when you get the sun and the moon, when you get the moon and the sun according to this calculation, this is 29 days and 12 hours from the 30th day in the beginning of night, and 793 chalakim from the 13th. Okay, so this is the time called the Moilad, and this is the new moon. So basically, from new moon to new moon is 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 chalakim. Okay, so that's what it is. So that's how we calculate. Okay, a year of moons, it'll be 12 months, it will have 354 days, 8 hours, and 876 chalakim. Chalakim are seconds. Each chalik is like, if you calculate 1,080 seconds per minute, so each second is like 2.5 seconds or something like that, or 1.7 seconds.
Did they have a way of measuring chalakim?
Yeah.
They didn't have a mechanical device.
Well, everything, they kind of did have some mechanical. They use sundials, but everything is measured.
Pretty fine line.
Yeah. It is. You have a really big sundial.
They use cap.
But there are how many chalakim?
They use those, they use those things where they measure. They measure the exact degrees where the sun is relative to Earth. So that's kind of how. Okay.
It's amazing that they were able to do that.
Now they wouldn't. It wasn't that they would keep time and say, like, they wouldn't, just like we don't say it's like 12:05 and 30 seconds. It wasn't like they kept time, but in the calculation of it, you knew that in this amount of time you can divide it this much.
But if they
So yes, they measured exactly how long, they were able to measure exactly how long it was. But once you have the measurements in place, all of it, everything's on paper. You don't have to actually calculate on a daily basis.
But it says 29 days, 12 hours pass from the beginning of night at the 30th day, plus 793 chalakim in the 30th hour. So they have to know when the last one ended.
Correct, but they don't have to calculate it. You don't need a watch every day. You only have to
calculate. But they need to time the interval.
Correct, but once you time it once in your life, now you have the math, right? It's, in other words.
So how do they deal with days that are longer or shorter than that?
Well, no, they're 1 to 24 hour intervals. All days are 24 hours. the 12 hours is how you divide the time of day. So 12 hours weren't, the Rambam doesn't say like an hour here. This is all on mathematics, on paper. Because you have 24 hours, you have 12 and 12, and then you have this many seconds, et cetera, et cetera. But they didn't have to calculate on a daily basis. They
On a
knew.
daily basis. But
Correct.
you still have to know from the end to the,
Correct. So once you
beginning.
figure it out, which you could figure out, once you figure it out, now you know how long a month is.
true. But you don't, you have to have a way of knowing when that interval of time
Correct. But you don't.
has occurred.
But in practicality, you don't need to know when the interval occurred, right? We'll see soon. We need to know. Now, we know that there's a new moon every time. So now we can just do math, right? But we don't have to, there's nothing we have to do and declare, this is the time now. We don't have to declare that, right? As we're going to see soon.
Okay.
Right now, we're calculating how to calculate Rosh Chodesh, so we know that a month is 29 a half and 793.
I get that.
Yeah.
But we have to know when that instant occurred.
Well, so we don't have to time that instant. In other words, we don't have to be in the moment, say, this is the instant right now.
How else are you going to know when it happened?
Well, we know that Rosh Chodesh is either 30 days or 29 days, and it's
But you got all these Galactim.
correct, but like, you don't need to know. In other words, we can just add, we don't need to say like, oh, that's the new moon at this point. We never have to say that. We never have to calculate the exact second of it for practicality. We're just calculating here for how to calculate. We know roughly when the new moon is, and we know which day the new moon is going to fall out. Just like, okay, so anyways, we'll see further. If it's a mu'uberes, if it's a leap year, so now you have 13 months, 13 new moons, you will have 383 days, 11 hours, 859 chalakim. And a solar year is 365 days and 6 hours, right? So now it comes out a solar year on a moon year, on a regular moon year, is going to be 10 days, 11 hours, and 204 chalakim. Right? So yeah, we all know a solar year is not 365 days, it's 365 and a quarter. Right? And that's why we have a leap year every 4 years, and that's why we have no leap year every 100 years. Okay, so year 2000 should have had a leap year, but it didn't. Okay, anyways. When you take the days of the moon and you divide them into 7, right? So now you have 29 and a half days. Divide them into weeks. So now what will you have? You will have left over 1 day, 12 hours, and 793 chalakim. So the Rambam says we're going to call that 112,793. That's how we're going to remember that here in this calculation. And this is called the she'eris. This is the leftover of the lunar month. And then when you take the years of the year of the sun, the year of the moon, divided into 7s, if it's a regular year, you will have 4 days, 8 hours, and 876 chalakim. That will be called Daled Ches 876. That is called the she'eris, the leftover of a regular year. If it is a shana mu'uberes, if it is going to be a leap year, the she'eris will be 5, and you divide into 7. The leftover will be 5 days, 21 hours, and 589 chalakim. That's 521, 589. Now, when you know any of the moiled, if you know a starting point, when a new moon is, and you add on to that 112,793, that is when the next new moon is, right? So if we know it falls out on this day, at this hour, at this minute, this second, and this month, then we just need to add 112,793 to the next month, and that is the next moon. And you will also know what day it is and the exact time of it. For example, if the new moon of Nisan is on Sunday, 5 hours in the day, and 112 and 7 chalakim, so that's 15107. When you add the sheris of the Chodesh Lavana, which is 112,793, now you will know Iyar. The next month will be, because you take the weeks, so you take the weeks away, and now we just need the extra. And then you know the next month will be Tuesday night, 5 hours in the night, and 900 chalakim. And similarly, you can do that month after month. You just need to add, if you want to know when the new moon is going to be, you just need to add that calculation of the sheiris, because you can subtract, you divide the 29 days into weeks, and then you have 1 day left, 793. You just add that on, and you will know when the new month is. Similarly, when you know the moiled of this year, right, now we're going to do it the whole year, and you add the regular year, the regular calculation, or the leap year calculation, so now you can know when the new moon will be in a year from now, right? It's kind of simple math, kind of. But you'll know exactly when it is in a year from now. And year after year until the end of time. And the first one you started, this is the first one of creation, and this was on Monday 5 at 5 hours at night, and 204 chalakim, and that's called Beis Hey Reish Daled, and that is the beginning of the calculations.
Is this why the Jewish year and calendar is a lot different than
Yes.
our accepted?
So the Jewish year and calendar is basically adding on this addition every year, really every month, and following the moons. We follow the moon cycle. And all these things, when you know the moiled, when you add the addition on top of the addition, and you gather all the chalakim, and then you can gather them until you can add an hour, collect an hour, and hours till a day, etc., etc. And when you gather more days, more on the 7 days, then you have a week, and you can subtract that and just keep the days in calculating when the new month is. Every 19 years has 7 leap years and 12 regular years. And all 19 years, that is called a machzor. That is called a cycle, right? So every 19 years, you have a full cycle with 7 leap years and 12 regular years. Why do they calculate this? Because when you gather the number of 12 years and 7 leap years, and you gather their hours and their seconds, and you put them all in, you plug them all in, and every 24 hours is a day, and then a week, etc., etc., then you will match up again with the sun, right? So every 19 years, the solar year has more days than the regular Jewish year. So the solar year goes ahead, and then the leap year, we put in leap years to make the lunar year match up better. So every 19 years, they should fully match up. So every 19 years, approximately, your English birthday and your Jewish birthday should end up on the same day. It's sometimes a day or day off, because this is pre the Gentile leap year, right? So the Gentile leap year is from the 1600s. The secular leap year is from the 1600s. The February 29th is from the 1600s. So this is pre that. So it's within a day or two, but it's always going to end up on the same day. Comes out in this machazor, in this cycle. The months are all lunar months, and the years will coincide with solar years. And 7 years on each one are the 3rd, 6th, 8th, 11th, 14th, 17th, and 19th. Okay, so those are the cycle of the leap years that we have. When you take the extra of all these, the extra of every year from 12 regular years, and the extra from all these 7 leap years, you will have 2 days, 16 hours, and 595 chalakim. And that is the She'er Samachzer. So the solar year is going to be a little bit off. Now, okay, so nowadays I guess it's more on because of the leap year system. In the times of the Rambam, there were 12 solar months, and they didn't have the leap year. So basically, if you go into history of the leap year, since the solar year is 6 hours at the end, there's 6 hours of every year beyond 365. Those all add up and sent the system off. And then there's actually 6 hours minus 11 minutes. So every 100 years or so, the 11 minutes add up and make the solar year a day off again. Okay, so that's how we work okay. When you'll know the Moilad at the beginning of a cycle, and you'll add that calculation, so you can tell exactly when it's going to be in 19 years. And that's how you could know every year and every month and every year that will be in the future. You take the year of that we passed, and you add 19 years, and you'll know the machzor, and then you can take from every machzor 2 days and 16 seconds and 16 hours and 595 seconds, and every year you can plug in the regular years, which they have 4 days, 8 hours, and 676 seconds. 876 seconds. And every leap year is 521, 590, 589. And then if you calculate this and you divide it into hours and you put all the hours into days and the days into weeks, etc., then you will know the molad. You will know when the new moon is going to be at any given year. The molad of that is going to be the Rosh Chodesh of Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, and when you add that Yud Beis, 12 hours and 793, you'll know Cheshvan, and when you add that, you'll know etc. So that's how the Rambam is creating the calendar for the Jewish people. Now, we never need to see when the new moon is. We never have to see when the new moon is. We just have to know when it is. Remember, any time after that happens, when the witnesses would see the new moon, then they would declare the day Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh isn't a moment in seconds, it's a day. So 29 and a half days is going to establish if Rosh Chodesh is going to be 29 days or 30 days. So that's how the Rambam is calculating this calendar. And that's the Rambam, it seems like he likes to kind of play with it and kind of work it out mathematically fully until you get a handle of it, because now after that it's going to get much more complicated.
Well, he likes to play with numbers.
Yeah. So,
but we don't know how. So you're saying that in real time, we don't have to know the moment of the new moon.
Correct. We have to know, but we don't have to see it. We don't have to experience it. We just have to know when it is. Yeah.
And so let's take for Shabbat, we have to know the time at which we light candles.
Correct.
Down to the second.
Well, it's interesting actually.
We say,
because this is what we do for Shabbat. Actually, we don't know exactly when Shabbat starts, because dusk is hard to calculate. So dusk. So what do? We start Shabbat at sunset, which is before night, but it is safely before night. And then what do? Because Shabbos, because the rabbi said at sunset, we actually start Shabbos. We light candles 18 minutes before, so we don't, God forbid, light after sunset. So the 18 minutes before is the time of candle lighting is 18 minutes before. So that's exactly, we know exactly when sunset is, but we don't follow the sunset fully because we want to make sure that we light Shabbos candles before.
So just so I understand, for Lechacha, this decal lines up with what you publish almost to the minute every week.
Yeah.
So it says 6:20, Shabbos ends.
Yeah.
So don't we have to know when 6:20 is?
So what is 6:20? 6:20 is when 3 stars are recognizable in the sky. Why?
By calculation.
Now, really, by calculation, really, Shabbos could technically end before that. But the rabbi said you have to wait till 3 stars to make sure they wanted to give an absolute time Shabbos would for sure be over. Because the time that Shabbos starts, we start earlier than Shabbos. We add on to Shabbos on both ends.
But
So legally, Shabbos
fine,
ends.
But even if we add on, we have to know when that was.
So that's what we add on to. We add on to 3 stars. The rabbis basically said you have to keep Shabbos till there are 3 stars in the sky, in order that we will for sure.
What if it's cloudy and you can't see the
But we
sun?
never
So the rabbis actually added on to that as well. You could technically,
Add on to what if you can't see the 3 stars?
basically they took, well, the time of 3 stars is calculatable in minutes, right? So the rabbis added more time to when you would see 3 stars. Sorry, the rabbis add the 3 stars is more time than it's possible to see 3 stars.
I'm not asking my question properly. If we do it by calculation, it means we're not actually going to go out
Correct,
and
correct,
look for the stars.
correct.
So how do I know when that is? Whether it's 18 minutes before or 18 plus 18? I have to know, if I'm not going to actually look,
Yeah.
I have to have some frame of reference for when that time is.
So so you're saying how was the calendar made? The calendar is basically giving all these times at a set time,
I need to,
right? So let's say sunset in the calendar is basically, as the Rambam will say soon, the days are calculated in degrees, right? Where the sun is relative to Earth every day, the sun, it moves a degree, let's say, the sun is moving around, so there's 360 degrees. So basically, we know sunset is this many minutes before absolute nightfall.
so if I throw my watch, so that's 2,000 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't have a watch.
Yeah.
So I throw my watch, but now it's 2023, and I throw my
Yeah.
watch away. And I have no independent frame of reference for knowing what time it
yeah.
is. But I do know by calculation, Shabbos ends at 6:20. So how do I know when I can turn my lights on?
So the answer is basically so Shabbos will
And I'm
start.
not gonna look at
Well, so you need to look at the sun. You won't know.
I won't know.
Yeah, you won't know.
So
Unless,
there's only, I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, so 1 second. Shabbos starts when you see the sun go below the horizon. That's when Shabbos starts. And Shabbos ends when you see 3 stars outside.
So I have to have an external frame of, so I have all the calculations, right?
Yeah.
But I need an external indicator of time, either my watch or the sun, right? Without one or the other, I have no idea when
Correct,
6:20 is.
Correct. And you have no idea what day it is also.
Well, I can count.
So
I
so
don't know-
if you're able to count, then you can count 24 hours and you'll know Shabbos is over.
But I will leave the days out. I just want to know that either I have to have a watch or a sundial or something external to the calculations, to the table, to know when Shabbos is.
Or if you can see outside.
Well, that's
Yeah,
an
correct,
external.
correct. So if you're blind, you will require someone to tell you when Shabbos starts. You won't be able to know.
But the sun is an external frame
Correct,
of
correct,
reference. So I can use that when the sun goes below
Correct.
the horizon.
Yeah.
I know that can be a marker for the time. Doesn't the same reasoning, logic apply to the new moon?
Well, so the new moon.
If I know it's 29 days and X number of hours and X number of kilometers.
Yeah, you can make your own calendar.
I need to know when that moment occurs.
No, because you don't need to see the moon at that moment. Nothing, right? You just need to know what day it's going to occur. to establish Rosh Chodesh.
So, but when we do the bracha for the,
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
the new moon, you announce that it occurs
Correct.
on
Correct.
29.
correct. But Rosh Chodesh, right? Rosh Chodesh doesn't start at that point. Rosh Chodesh sometimes starts the day of, the day after. That's when Rosh Chodesh is. Because Rosh Chodesh on our calendar is either 29 or 30 days after the previous Rosh Chodesh. And it's a day, right? Rosh Chodesh is a day. So Rosh Chodesh doesn't start when the new moon is, like Shabbos starts when the sun is below the horizon. Rosh Chodesh is a day established by the rabbis next to the new moon. So the Rambam is going to first calculate exactly when the moon will be there. And then we also have to keep in mind, we have to make sure Pesach falls out in spring. So we add a month, which changes the calculation. So so the practicality, it's not like Shabbos, the sun, it doesn't matter what time the calendar says. If the sun is below the horizon, it's Shabbos. That makes Shabbos. The new moon is decided by the rabbis. It used to be that even if there was a new moon for 24 hours and they knew that, it was different, yeah.
So, I hate to do this, but I need to. The calculation of so many days